Hello, my name is Steve Mace from Solwise, and what I'm going to do is run through an introduction video here which covers the Hotspot Internet Gateway products from Guest Internet Solutions. So a quick introduction first of all. So what exactly is an Internet Hotspot Gateway? Well, an Internet Hotspot Gateway device is essentially a router designed to isolate members of the public, generally members of the public, logging into guest Wi-Fi solutions or systems. So it isolates them from your site's network and from the internet, and gives you extra levels of security and management for what those guest users do, what they can connect to, their internet speed, the amount of data they can download, etc., etc. Also gives you the capability to introduce charging if you want to, and also because of the firewalls built into the Guest Internet Gateway boxes, they are certificated for PCI-DSS installations, and also the HIPAA, firewall requirements required for health services like hospitals and that sort of thing. So this is just a quick example schematic showing you what we're talking about here. So you could have a series of wireless access points broadcasting Wi-Fi over the areas which members of Joe Public can connect to as a guest service. Also, the products will actually take wired computers as well through their LAN ports. So the internet connectivity comes from the DSL router, goes into the WAN port of the hotspot gateway. From there, goes through to the actual clients. And on this diagram, also we're actually showing the ticket printer. So this is a ticket printer that you can connect to the device, to the network. That network can either be on the guest side of the internet gateway, or actually on the private side, the WAN side of it, and that allows you to print off tickets with unique username passwords, sort of thing that you've seen perhaps in hotels or internet cafes, that sort of thing. So this is the sort of product range that we're talking about. Here we have a selection of Guest Internet Hotspot Gateway devices or Internet Gateway devices. Guest Internet Solutions do a whole range of devices. The difference between them essentially is the maximum number of clients they can cope with and the maximum internet through speed they can cope with. Apart from that, the functionality of them is all very, very similar. So at the bottom we have what we call an R2, that's their entry model, and those are those ports I mentioned on the back. So you've got, in this case, you've got 4 LAN and 1 WAN. That, off the top of my head, I think is like 30 users and I think about 50 megs worth of internet speed, or it might be 30 megs worth of internet speed. I've got a comparison table I'll show you later on anyway. So that's the R2, then we have the R4, going to the R6. What we're doing here is we're increasing the capabilities as far as users are concerned and internet throughput speed is concerned. We have an R10 here, which I'm actually using on my computer here, giving me internet access. Now the R10 is the first model which actually has more than one WAN port on the back. So this has 2 WAN ports which it can be used for either failover or more usually for aggregating multiple streams of internet bandwidth. So this has got 2 WAN ports, so it can connect 2 internet sources into it. That's the R10 model. Next we have the R20. The R20, yet again, as you can see, we're now going to a 19-inch rack setup, so much more powerful processor engine here. We're coping now with hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of users, and yet again, this has got the 2 WAN port functionality on it. There is also an R40 and an R80. I haven't got those here because I'll end up with a stack about this high. Yet again, the difference between them is the R40, we're talking about, I think it's something like a couple of thousand recommended clients, and that one also has 4 WAN ports, so even higher potential throughput capability. And right at the top of the range we have the R80, which off the top of my head, I can't remember, I think it's 4 by 100 meg of internet throughput speed and something like, I believe, about 4,000 or 5,000 client capability. If you want even higher than that, then I'll be touching on a concept called a virtual gateway that you can run through a cloud service. That's a cloud service operated by Guest Internet Solutions, which allows you to actually take multiple hotspot gateways and amalgamate them or aggregate them so they appear as a single, much higher capacity virtual gateway. So, for example, you could take two R20s and potentially rack yourself up to, let's say, 10,000 users with a total of 800 meg throughput capability. And through the cloud service, that all appears as if it's one single huge hotspot gateway device. Also on here, we've got this ticket printer. Remember, I showed you the ticket printer before. So the ticket printer sits on the network. It's actually controlled by a web interface that you can access either through a desktop computer, tablet computer, or a phone. And when you log into the printer web interface, what you see is essentially a series of push buttons that you can put descriptions on. And each button that you can click, or if it's a touch screen like a tablet you can press on, what they do is they're equivalent to a specific set of a class of ticket that you've already pre-created, be, for example, maximum speed, download limits, time of day usage, etc. You click on the button and out pops a unique ticket on here. So that's a ticket with a unique username and password, which you can then give to the client or customer or guest user. So that's the sort of kit that we're talking about. So let's go back to the slides. So we have a few strong recommendations or minimum feature set that we see that you should have in a proper internet public hotspot gateway device. Obviously, number one is it needs to have a captive portal page, or at least the option of a captive portal page. So this is a login page which at the very least has a disclaimer that says, "Hi, welcome to your internet access. This is Joe's CAF. Please click here to go on," or something like that. The captive portal capability, captive portal login page capability within the GIS hotspot gateways has a capability to do customization and of the login page, and even the capability to do a 100% custom login page if you want. Social media login. This is a new thing which is coming very, very important nowadays with all the GDPR stuff. The traditional idea of harvesting email addresses, telephone numbers and contact details is pretty much, well, not really recommended anymore. You can end up in trouble, especially if you're an amateur and you don't really know what you're doing. Best to not tread there. But what you can do is you can actually do social media login with these products, or particularly with the GIS products. So what that means is the guest user logs in using his Facebook credentials, and in a process of doing that, then they are automatically linked to your business Facebook page. Moving down, we still have email contact login in if you want to, but not advisable nowadays. Token access, so that's the idea of actually giving out a unique username and password, which can be done as a token printed out either on the ticket printer or on the fly, or pre-printed out through the actual web interface of the device. The option to do charging if you want to, which nowadays is usually done by PayPal, either through the guest PayPal account or as an on-the-spot credit card billing through the PayPal. Two-tier internet. We think this is quite important, but you've all seen this sort of thing, or most have probably seen this sort of thing. This sort of thing at hotels where you can actually get a slow-speed internet access for free, but stump up some money, you can get a high-speed access. So these products support that capability. Another, what we consider a must-have feature is redirect to business website after login, so that way you can go to your customer's website and they can have like special offers, come down to the gym today for a 2-to-1 or something like that, you know what I mean. The ability to control both speed and data usage. Scheduling, so you can schedule times of day when the service is available or not. Block users, block file sharing, protection against DOS attack. Content filtering, so blocking specific types of website, that sort of thing. Credit card billing management with sales reporting, well, that's already been mentioned above. If something goes wrong with a system, administrator warnings, typically by email or perhaps by SMS. Cloud management. Now that's on the guest internet products or guest internet solution products, that's been out now for about 18 months, 2 years. And I shall be touching on that several times in the rest of this video and the rest of this PowerPoint presentation. But what it means is that through a centralized cloud website, which is hosted by GIS, you can actually log in and check the operation and manage the operation and stats and configuration, etc. of guest internet gateways that you have installed at customer sites. Very, very powerful feature. I'll come to that later on because it has some very nice, unique, sexy features. Store display user stats and access code printer for hotel desk and internet cafe. Already mentioned that. Basic features of the guest internet products. Well, easy to install and operate. That's quite a high feature on these products. They have been especially designed to be very easy to set up, no special technical skills required. So you should be able to, as a layman, for example, manager running a caravan park or something like that, you should be able to take the product out of the box and within 5 or 10 minutes have it up and working. They are, honestly, they are that quick and easy to get up. Yes, they have more sophisticated features if you want, but for initial operation, it's literally a 5 or 10 minute job. They have a login page with disclaimer, configurable access codes, the option to do PayPal billing or controlled free access, the ability to share resources between the users so you can stop particular users grabbing everything. You can equally share the bandwidth out, stop torrent file sharing, multi-WAN redundancy, the low balancing or failover. So that comes in with the R10 model and upwards. Cloud management, which gives obviously remote administration and the ability to do multi-site implementation, and scalable range of products. So essentially with the guest internet products, they have a product starting from the R2, which is suitable for, let's say, a coffee bar or something like that, and right up to products like the R80, which are for thousands of users. And obviously, if you go through that virtual gateway thing with the cloud that I mentioned earlier on, then you can amalgamate them for up to tens of thousands of users. This is just a rough guesswork, loose recommendations of product ranges. So the guest internet have their bottom products typically for tens of users. So we're talking about restaurants, coffee bars, internet cafes, motels. Then they have mid-range products for hundreds of users, suitable, for example, hotels, resorts, hospitals, public parks. And at the top end, they have products suitable for thousands of users, suitable for a very large-scale operation, for example, sports stadiums, hotel chains, trade shows. I mean, you know, I've been to a trade show where there may have been 20-odd thousand people in the room, in the hall or something like that, and the internet was appalling, and the management was quite atrocious. This lists the sort of applications that these products have been going into. This is a fairly accurate list. It's gathered by the data obtained when people register the warranty of the product, so it should be fairly truthful and fairly believable. And as you can see, the range of products is quite extensive for this. We've got motels, hotels, restaurants, cafes, caravan sites and campgrounds. That's one that's quite very popular in the UK. Airports, waiting rooms, marinas, another very popular one. Schools. Schools is quite an up-and-coming thing because most schools nowadays need to supply some form of guest internet access, guest Wi-Fi for visiting people, parents, that sort of thing. So that's becoming more popular now. And obviously schools are particularly paranoid about security and that sort of thing. So a guest internet hotspot gateway is a very worthwhile thing for guest internet access in schools. Churches, yes, we have actually sold a few to churches, believe it or not. You're there praying to God. You want to be, checking your Facebook postings at the same time. Trade shows, municipal office, shopping malls, apartment buildings, sports events, and retailers. So this is a breakdown of the current product range, going from the R2 at the bottom right up to the R80 at the top. The main difference between them is the recommended maximum number of users, concurrent users, and the recommended maximum throughput. These are recommendations, they're not fixed in stone. You can push them a little bit if you wanted to. It just means that if you start to exceed these by any great deal, you're going to start to see some slowdown. So you see we go from the bottom with the R2 with 30 users, 60 meg, right up to the R80, which is over 2,000. I don't honestly think that they actually have a real idea for what the maximum is the R80 can cope with. They say 2,000, but certainly I've heard of people putting 5,000 users through the R80 without any issues. And the R80, we're talking about 400 meg maximum throughput stream, which is spread over multiple WAN ports. So the R2, R4, RT6, we only got a single WAN port. Go to the R10, R22 WAN ports, R40, R80, 4 WAN ports. As far as other functionality is concerned, everything except the R2 has PayPal/credit card charging, and everything except the R2 has torrent blocking. Though I say that may not be relevant or important anymore. I don't think people really do torrent sharing anymore. But anyway, the R2 doesn't have that capability. Though most of our sales probably start with the R4, don't sell a lot of R2s. One thing that I mentioned, already touched on, is this PCI-DSS compliant, which is right across the board. So it's a firewall suitable to enable you to tick all the boxes for credit card usage on the internet, on your establishment or on a customer's establishment. Cloud hotspot services, I'll touch on those. That they are becoming more and more popular now. I can see why a caravan site owner or something like that may be attracted to them, because it does to some extent take away any requirement of any intelligence on the part of the caravan owner. They do supply an off-the-shelf ready-to-go solution. So, for example, they may supply a customized router that the site operator can literally just bang on their network, and from that point they're up and going. The only problem with these cloud services, or there's several problems, but one problem is you are pretty much tied into their equipment, so that removes any flexibility of equipment choices. What that means is also means is if you don't like the features and options supplied by the cloud service, well, pretty much tough, take it or leave it. The other thing is that the cloud service people, well, they're doing it to make money, so it's not free. Now, sometimes they might do a free startup, so they may send you the router free or for some nominal cost, like 30 quid or something like that. But after that, they get their revenue by actually charging your guest users, and for that they actually take a cut of the money that they're charging to the users. So the problem with that is it can actually be difficult for you to offer a free service to people. And also, if you do still want to go ahead with the charging option, obviously your flexibility and your options as to what you can charge might be taken out of your hands. And either way, a certain percentage of that is going to the cloud people. The other thing is right at the bottom is you're tied into that cloud operator, and if that cloud operator vanishes, then you are left in the doo-doo. You could have kit which was specific to the cloud operator, which you've now got to throw away in the skip, or you've got to start looking out for new cloud operators, etc. We've had direct experience with this. If you go back about 20 odd years, at the start of Wi-Fi, cloud operators were very, very popular. They were all over the place, and a lot of caravan sites installed or went to cloud operator service providers for this sort of service, or this sort of package. And what tended to happen is over the following 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years, all those cloud operators went down. And the cloud operators in those days tended to actually tie you very much into a specific make, model, brand of hardware. Cloud operator went down, site operators left with a potentially £10,000 white elephant that you can't do anything with. And I say £10,000 because that is a figure that we had once thrown at us by a caravan site operator who, rather stupidly, this happened to him twice, signed up with one, threw a load of money at it, operator went down after 5 years, signed up with another operator, threw even more money at it, operator went down after another 5 years. So I'm much more an advocate, and our company's much more an advocate of you buy the kit, you own the kit, you use the kit. Don't effectively tie yourself into somebody else's service. If you buy a guest internet solutions gateway, then the gateway is yours. How they're configured, how the gateway is used, configured and managed is yours. You can use it however you want, whether you want to charge for it or whether you want to free. However you want to do it, it's yours to play around with. Online product documentation. If you go to the Guest Internet website, they have an extremely good range of online documentation. If you should need it, as I'll come to the next slide, they do actually supply a quick setup guide, which is very, very simple and basic, no brain cells required. But they also have some more sophisticated online product documentation about setup configuration, advanced functionalities, even API usage and cloud management usage. As I say, all the products go out with a quick setup guide, which essentially on one side tells you how to put your LAN cables in, on the other side how to log into the device and run the configuration wizard. So following this guide, you should, nearly all end users, whether they're technical or not, should be able to get the system up running within about 5 or 10 minutes. Very, very simple thing to use. When you do log into the units, it's really broken down into three sections. You've got the setup wizard, which I've already touched upon. So come to the device, you can just click on the setup wizard. It checks your internet, makes sure everything's working okay, even checks the firmware version, checks that for you, then allows you to use a series of templates to design your own login page. Then you can specify the login method used, whether you want just a standard disclaimer or whether you want PayPal or whether you want blah, 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 blah. You just set that up there and then click on save or apply or whatever it is, and bingo, the system's up and working. Very, very quick to get working. Really no technical in-depth knowledge required. There's a dashboard screen giving you stats and information on the system, and there's a usage section which tells you throughput, what the users are doing, how much data they're downloading, and that sort of thing. I've mentioned the wizard already. This just shows you a larger screenshot of what you see. So when you, after it's actually checked that the internet is okay, you come through to the login page setup. So you just choose what background you want on the login page, or you can actually custom upload your own background. And then when you get through to the next screen, it allows you to actually choose what sort of login mode you want. So you choose the sort of login mode that you want, and then you click on done, and that's it, up and going. Very, very quick. The advantage of all the Guest Internet products is they're a British company. All the software is written by people who have English as their native language. Documentation is written by them. And also they've designed and written the products very much with the English market in mind. They do sell to other countries, very big in America apparently, but their core company is still British, so I think that does help. I mentioned that a part of the setup process, or the wizard, you can actually choose what form of login that you want to use. There are 7 off-the-shelf login methods supported by these products. There's a standard disclaimer T's and C's login. There's a sort of login where you can use access codes. These are unique username and passwords, which you can either give away if you wanted to, or charge. And for these you can set duration of internet access and download and upload speeds and the number of users per code. So you can give out tickets, for example, that are suitable for a family of 4 or something like that. You can also choose whether you want to do charge login for that. So you can have, yet again, charge login using PayPal, be the credit card payment through PayPal or through the client's PayPal account. yet again with parameters set for duration, upload speeds, number of users, etc. You can, if you want, do the old-fashioned idea of logging in using personal information like email credentials. Very much frowned upon nowadays, but if you want it, the feature is there. One of the good things that it does have about the email harvesting, for want of a better expression that it's got, is it does actually verify that what you're putting in is a sensible email address. In the good old days, I mean, I've done this myself in hotels. Sometimes they might ask for an email address, and you put mickey.mouse@disney.com. But nowadays, certainly for this sort of product, they can verify and check that. And the way they do it is you put your email address in. For about 5 minutes, you've got free internet access, and during that time, you're supposed to go onto your webmail and check it, and you should have an email there from the system which is giving you your password and login that you then use for continued access. So it has a way of verifying that the email address is true and found. 5, this is the new thing which is very much taken over from personal information, say one of the reasons being GDPR, is social media login using Facebook. So the user comes to the screen, logs in using Facebook, and that has a number of advantages for you as the operator. One of the things, for example, is they end up by a process of liking your business Facebook page. Also, you've got access to Facebook stats and information, and also you can use then Facebook portal as some form of marketing outlet to them. So using Facebook login has a lot of advantages, and one of the big advantages, as far as GDPR is concerned, it's Facebook's problem, it's not your problem. Let them worry about it. The 6th login option is a 2-tier login where you have a slow internet speed for free, or you might have a charged high-speed access. You've seen this sort of thing in hotels. And number 4 is no login page. Now, normally you would set that up to people who are, I don't know, permanent site members. For example, it might be lodges or something like that. They are set up as privileged users requiring no login. You've still got control and stats and information on the users, but they don't actually have to do any logging in to gain internet access. And if you're not happy with all those 7, then at the bottom line is you can actually, for Firewall or Guest Internet Solutions, can actually do your custom login page with lots of sexy additional features. Give an example, you might want a login page, for example, which interacted with a till package that you're running or something like that. That can all be done by Firewall. And here's just an example of what Firewall can put together. On the left hand side we have the standard template type login page. So this is the thing that when it comes up, it said you can choose a background and choose a basic format for the login page. But on the right hand side, this is the sort of thing that can be done with a customized login page. So this is a customized one that Firewall did for Subway in the States. And as you can see, we're talking about a very sophisticated login page, lots of special offers on it and all that sort of thing. So this sort of thing can be done by Firewall Guest Internet Solutions if required. If you want to go ahead with the custom login page, then you have to send through the details of what you require either to Firewall or to us or your reseller. They can send that information through to Firewall, and it takes typically about 5 days for them to knock together a login page. So this sort of thing on the left hand side, we're talking about 5 days to churn that out. Last time I did one for a customer, I think it was only a couple of £100. So it's not expensive, and they can basically do a login page that does anything you want, as you've seen from that Subway one. Suitable applications for the custom login page are obviously marketing, collect user information, website optimization, that sort of thing. So, and the way it works is once they've designed your login page, they just send you a file, you upload the file into the guest internet device, and you're off and going. Social media login. I mentioned that before. So if you use Facebook social media login for your guests, there are a number of advantages to you. One of the advantages, I say, the overriding advantage is you don't have to worry about all that GDPR crap. The other thing is that each time your guests connect to the internet using this, they are invited to click a button which places a recommendation of your business on their social page. So the word gets about. So if they've got other friends and that sort of thing that are checking their Facebook pages and that sort of thing, you're automatically advising them that you think you're fantastic. Also, each time they connect, it ends up liking your business Facebook page, because apparently being liked by people on Facebook is a thing that people like nowadays. I'm really into. Also means you've got access to various marketing information tools that are available through Facebook, and also allows increases search engine optimization being liked on Facebook. So lots of reasons here why Facebook login is beneficial. Now, the cloud management service, I've mentioned this already. It's been out for about 2 years from Guest Internet Solutions, and it's a way of centrally managing multiple hotspot gateways, or one to multiple hotspot gateways, through a centralized web interface out there on the internet. So it gives you all the functionalities and all the details if you are directly accessing the gateway, plus additional stuff, additional stats, additional usage reports, etc. And one of the things that it can do is it can enable you to block manage multiple virtual gateways, multiple hotspot gateways, and aggregate them into one large virtual gateway. So this is the way I mentioned earlier on, how you can crack the limit of the number of users of each individual gateway. So if you've got a site that says needs 50,000 users, you can still do it by racking up the internet gateway products. For example, you may be racking up R80s, so you can rack up the R80s and aggregate them as a single very large virtual gateway on the cloud. So as far as you accessing the cloud is concerned, it's like you're talking to an enormous internet gateway. These are the sort of screens that you get off. You may have to looking quite with a magnifying glass on that. But at its core, we're talking about this is the sort of screen which is the same sort of thing that's actually seen on the web interface for the hotspot gateways, which is, I should mention that it doesn't matter which hotspot gateway product you use in the range, whether it's the R2, R4, right up to the R80, the management interface and the dashboard interface is pretty much the same on all the products. So that's really good because you learn on one product. So for example, if you've learnt the way the management works and the way the configuration works and the way the reports work on an R4, you can then go up to an R80 and the screens are pretty much exactly the same. Same sort of functionality, same sort of configuration. The only difference is usually the number of WAN ports. When you come to the internet WAN port setup on the hotspot gateway devices, obviously on products like the R2, R4, R6, there's only a single WAN port there. Go up to the higher products like an R10 or an R40 or whatever, then you'll have additional sections there for the additional WAN ports. Apart from that, the operation is pretty much the same on all the products. So, and it's the same with the cloud. The basic screen layout is pretty much the same as you've seen on all the products, but there are additional screens and additional usage reports and stats features which you can access as well. This is reiterating that idea of virtual gateways. So this is a fictitious example of 3 sites. So you've got 2 sites which have a single hotspot gateway on them. So they're single isolated sites, yet being managed through the cloud service. But here we have a site 3 which needs to cope with a much higher number of users, and in this case there's multiple gateways on that site which are aggregated as a virtual gateway on the cloud. So it's a way of breaking that barrier of the number of users that a single gateway can cope with. Cloud management feature summaries. So these are the basic features that the cloud management gives you. Remote monitoring management for 1 right up to multiple gateways. You can manage the gateways individually or in groups. That's bringing up this idea of the virtual gateway where you've got multiple gateways joined together. Performance stats for the gateways or for the virtual gateways. Failure monitoring, so you can get an email if something goes wrong with one of them. Central access code generation, that's quite a good one because if you've got Let's say you had a customer who was had multiple hotels in a chain. Using that feature, somebody can take an access code which was handed to them or generated at one hotel, and through the cloud service, when they go to another hotel, that code is equally valid. So nice feature for hotel chains. It's a great tool for IT firms who actually want to provide managed services for their customers, be it on a free basis or a charge basis. As far as charging for the cloud service is concerned, it's supposed to be first year free, after that a low cost. Been going 2 years, Guest Internet Solutions still haven't decided whether they're ever going to charge for it. Whether it's actually worth them rolling up the sleeves and going through the bother of creating a charging portal for the service. I think they're basically taken the attitude now that it's not costing them much to run the service, so it'll carry on being free, certainly for the foreseeable future. This is the PCI-DSS compliance slide I mentioned earlier on. Not very many people are aware of this, but if you, let's say you're a CAF and you're running public access through your single internet service, single internet stream, if you have point-of-sale tills or card reading machines that use the internet, then you should have a firewall in place to isolate those public users from the tills and from the internet service. Very few people are aware of that. I myself have seen it. You go in, CAFs quite often, their internet access is basically just connecting to the Wi-Fi coming from their main router with very little security in place, certainly no PCI-DSS compliant firewall in place, and they're busy doing credit card internet-based transactions through that internet at the same time. That is very much a no-no. It does go on, but if you are caught by the credit card people running that sort of setup in a non-compliant manner, then you are subject to a daily fine and or service being removed altogether. So it's worth thinking about that, and for the price of how much an inexpensive guest internet gateway costs, I don't know, this really should be installed in all these sort of applications, be it the smallest CAF right up to larger establishments. They should all have a product like this, hopefully one of these, but a product like this in place to check for that sort of operation. Let's go through some examples. Hotels and motels, that's a big one. So the advantage for hotels and motels is the guest internet solution products are actually very reasonably priced. For the features and solutions that they offer, they're very competitively priced, whole range of different features, and obviously they've got cloud and that sort of thing, which again is a fantastic option for multi-site hotel operation. Now, if a hotel or motel literally just wants a basic splash and go login page, so no further control or management of the user, literally just a page that comes up saying, welcome to Sam Smith's hotel, welcome to our Wi-Fi, please click here to continue. If that's all they want, and they don't want any of the enhanced security and other features that a proper gateway can offer, then that feature is built into a lot of professional grade access points nowadays. For example, the Edimax Pro range, the Ingenious range, even some of the Ubiquity access points actually have a very simple guest portal splash and go login page. So if that's all they want, then you can do that. However, it won't do things like allow you to block illegal downloading, which can create issues with the ISP. It also won't give you things like social media login, band charging, and access limiting controls, etc. So it's really worth for a hotel or motel to be putting a proper hotspot gateway product in place. This is hand-waving examples of the sort of kit that you would need for a particular size of hotel. It's very much hand-waving, take it with a pinch of salt. But if you've got 50 rooms, we're suggesting perhaps thinking about an R4 with maybe half a dozen access points, 100 rooms, maybe go up to an R6 or maybe even R10 with sort of 8 or 9 access points. 250 rooms, maybe you might be looking about an R20 with dual WAN capability and sort of 15-ish access points. 500 rooms, you might be thinking of an R40 with 4 WAN ports and maybe sort of 2 or 3 dozen access points to cover the area. Hand waving figures. The number of access points depends upon the layout of the hotel and that sort of thing. One thing to bear in mind is it's all very well having these guest internet Hotwire gateway products there with their multiple WAN ports there, but one thing you very much need to check is the internet speed coming into the hotel or motel. If you've got 500 rooms and all you've got is 30 meg internet speed coming in on a single WAN, then it doesn't matter whether you've got an R40 or an R4, you're going to struggle. Another application is the idea of very large scale sites. So we're talking about very large hotels, stadia, airports, etc. So these are the sort of installations where you've got thousands and thousands of users using the service, and that is where the cloud interface becomes much more relevant and much more important, because using that greatly simplifies the management both of the hotspot gateways and the users going through the system. So it also enables you, for example, to control the users and the bandwidth used by those users. Gives you nice, fantastic usage reports, daily reports about what they're doing, so it allows you to tune for the poor performance. Prevents public use, allows you to customize the deployment, so you might have custom login pages, interface branding, etc. One of the things is the cloud management allows you to have this idea of a virtual gateway, so linking multiple internet gateways to create one large virtual gateway, and the idea to have a custom login page. Typical customers for this sort of thing: trade shows, airports, sports stadiums, public parks, hospitals, because let's face it, all these hospitals nowadays have got guest Wi-Fi, be it for the people sat in the beds or for the people sat by the beds. And one thing to bear in mind is that if you are going to be doing public or guest internet access for hospitals, then you should have a HIPAA compliant firewall in place. And one way to do that is to use a guest internet solution hotspot gateway that automatically ticks the boxes for this special firewall compliance. And right at the bottom, hotel groups. So we're talking about hotel chains that across the whole chain may have tens of thousands of users. Parameters for large scale. So these are important factors that need to be considered for these large scale projects. And one thing which I mentioned on the previous slide is you need to verify how much internet speed is actually available at these sites. If you're trying to do a site that's going to cope with, let's say, potentially 10,000 users simultaneously trying to connect, then trying to do it through a 30 meg fiber line is not going to work. You need to very seriously think about how much internet speed is coming in. Now what you can do, obviously with the guest internet products, is you could limit the number of users based upon what the internet bandwidth is that you have. So that is possible to do that. So you could automatically work out, our internet speed is this, we've got this many people, but we can only allow this many people to connect at any time, or we're restricting the amount of bandwidth that they can actually have. This is yet again going through that idea of multiple gateways joined up to one virtual gateway. So this is just saying, for example, you can have a hotel group with a hotspot gateway each hotel. That again, they can be aggregated to one virtual network, or you could have one very large hotel or a sports stadium, for example, where you've got multiple hotspot gateways on the same site going to groups of access points, and yet again aggregated together as a virtual gateway through the cloud service. So that completes the introduction video on the Guest Internet Solution Hotspot Gateway products. This will be hopefully the first of, I think, a total of 5 different videos covering different aspects of the products, configuration, setup, applications, and also there's going to be a video hopefully covering the cloud operation of the products. Any questions or anything like that, either post comments on the videos, or you can actually email us direct, or your reseller direct, and they should be able to help you out. But I hope you found that video informative. Sorry if it dragged on a bit, but I did actually try to keep on cutting it down. I think this is about the 5th time I've tried to record this video, and each time I've cut it down a bit more. But a lot of ground to cover. Hope you found it informative. Thank you very much.